Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo.
Bam, 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 bam. What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just about to lose my life right now, or actually losing years on my life. There we go, Billy. I don't know what was going on. But losing years on my life right now, bro. I'm stressed out over this crypto crash. But it's all good.
Oh, hey, never mind.
If I need a place to stay, can I come stay with you, bro? Because I got kicked out.
So what's going on? The market is crashing?
Oh man, it's going down right now.
It's been a few months.
Down? Huh?
Like Bitcoin was at like 65,000. It's down to 29.
Yeah, it's going down.
Hey, I hate to be that guy, but we was talking about this last time.
Hey, don't trip though, because when I'm living in my mansion, bro,
just let me come visit.
You gonna have to buzz in. I'm like,
your name ain't on the list, Mr. Johnson.
And I'm gonna tell you,
try, oh no, it's the Popo.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm like, hey, I hate to say I told you so. Oh man, but I'm not gonna lie though, bro. This is not for the faint of heart, bro. When you just look at your money.
So are they all down, like Ethereum?
Everything's down right now. Everything.
Is there a reason?
Everything. No, I don't think anybody can pinpoint that thing from news from China to Elon Musk and his big mouth, all sorts of stuff. But I will say though, Ethereum for the most part has like a lot of good things that are going to be coming out pretty soon that's going to make the platform better. So I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Okay, so maybe I need to buy a couple of Ethereum. What they like, 6,000 a piece?
Nah,
they're 1,700 right now.
Today.
Dang, that's still crazy for one.
They were up to like 4,000 at one point.
For one. And the projections, and this is not financial advice to anybody, so I don't want y'all to take this.
Projections, you could say it's going to be $1 billion next year. It could be what nobody has projections.
That's true.
It's still crazy to me that like I would pay say 1,500 for something I can't like hold.
Physically hold, yeah. Well, you can't even physically hold anything in the stock market.
That's a valid point.
But
I can hold the company. I could go and hug the building.
Yeah,
I could like.
That's true.
Yeah, they have tangible income
to think. So you're saying like, yeah, it's kind of weird to say you can't physically hold something that costs $1,700. But think about it, this time last year in June, Ethereum was at $200 per one.
Yeah, no, I get that. So
from $200 when it all went all the way up to $4,000, it just shows because it's volatile like that. It just shows the potential, but also shows the ability to lose a lot of money as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really it's a long term gain unless you're a day trader and you're playing on those trades. And again, this is not financial advice to anybody, because I don't want y'all come back trying to sue us saying that I lost everything because Ryan told me to invest in a crypto.
But just make sure you're specific. Ryan told you.
But just realize, it's so you just my problem is I look at it too much. I just need to leave it in there and just let it do what it does.
But you gotta look at it like eventually, right? Like
that's what I told Billy. That's what I told Billy, because I don't want it to get down to $1 and be like, oh shoot,
and then you don't want it to get like so high. You're like, all right, I need this. Like there has to be a number where it hits. You're like, all right, I'm selling right there. That's it.
Honestly, if it got to be like, I've heard people say 10,000 within the next couple of years, 2-3 years per one. At that point, I don't know if I would sell it. I honestly don't know if I would sell it, because it's like what's the cap?
Yeah, that's tricky.
And you can still, and I've been learning, you can still leverage it to where you can borrow against that and still use money from it. Essentially, that's the way to do it. So that way you don't lose your stake in the company or whatever, but you can still leverage some of that money that you have in there. So it's I don't know, man. But anyways, in other news, what's going on, bro?
I can't call it, man. Just happy to be back at work, man, and doing that whole thing. Did you see the video out from New Jersey?
Oh,
where the dude's like crump dancing against like the sergeant, and then the sergeant like turns around and starts dancing too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a dope video, man. It just goes to show that like people want to see those positive interactions more now than really ever, because that video blew up. Like it was everywhere. Like rappers were sharing it and everything, and it's just like, once you're surrounded by negativity so much, like you almost beg for some positivity, and I feel like that's what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I was this morning I was watching a video as soon as I woke up out of Newark City. So Newark. I don't know if I'm Newark. Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but there's some officers wrestling with some guy that's obviously on some type of drugs because, bro, the dude has like superhuman strength. And he's giving it to the officers, bro. He puts one of them in a chokehold, matter of fact. And as this is all going on, like every single bystander standing around is just recording it. I'm like, can you what's the logic behind this day and age that we're living in where everybody it's more of a priority for me to record what's going on than it is for me to actually render some type of aid. Even in Chicago where this couple got shot.
I seen that. That's a crazy video.
Oh my goodness. Man. I don't know if you look closely, but there's also people right next to them recording that.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that's even like a police thing. I think that's just it's human nature right now to pull your phone out and not call, but to record.
I'm not saying it's a police thing. I'm just saying it's like.
Well, there's been like studies done where they'll hidden cameras or whatever, and someone will start bullying someone like physically, and they say like the more people that are around, the less that people will help because they'll think, oh, someone else will help. There's like probably a term that I don't know. That's definitely a thing.
Yep, 100%.
But at what point do you just look around and be like, well, nobody else is helping, so maybe I should help?
People should think like that.
And the thing is, it only takes one person to jump in and help because then it's that sheep mentality. Everybody else is going to jump in and try to help. But it takes that one person going out on a limb and just saying, I'm going to go out there and do something that is not the popular thing to do, and I'm going to help out.
I'm glad you said it that way, because what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today is something very similar. And it's like, I want you to ask yourself like what you're doing, like in your profession, like what you're doing in your personal life. And the reason I posed that question is, prior to me going back to work, like I heard all of this, like crazy stories, even from like the people I work directly with, let alone like officers from like all over the world. Like, oh, it's morale's at an all-time low. Like everyone hates us. We don't want to do anything. Like you shouldn't do anything. And ever since I got back to work, it's like riding a bike. Like I got on, I started pedaling, and I'm like, okay, I remember how much I like this. And now I'm pedaling even faster because I missed it. And it's like the community's coming to me even more so because they're like, oh, like you're a breath of fresh air. And now like other officers are like coming to me like, oh man, I can't believe you're like going out here passing out bikes, and I can't believe you're going out doing all of this, like playing basketball still. And how's that work for you? And it's like, well, you see the videos, like it's worked fine. You're like, oh man, well I'm gonna go back to the west side, or I'm gonna go back to the north side and try that. And it's just like, all it takes is one person to be the catalyst for that change, and then you'll start to see more and more people come out of the woodwork and be more comfortable doing whatever that change is. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, man, because. And don't have me on my soapbox again, but like, man, I'm truly excited to be at work. Like I am. Like, I'm not doing anything different than I was prior to me leaving. Keep in mind, like I wasn't there for like that year of chaos and people wanting to harm us constantly and whatnot. But like now that I am here, it's like, man, one of the worst notorious gang intersections on my precinct. Keep in mind, like this intersection has been known historically throughout the city as one of the worst gang affiliates in the city. Stopped me the other day because it was just this crazy scene where like this chick was trying to run this other chick over with a car. We all got there, but this family came out and they were like, hey, we hear you giving out cars. I'm like, what? I'm not giving out no cars. Like I'm gonna help my buddy buy a car. Like that's it. And they're like, oh, well, our kids need bikes. Can you help with that? I'm like, absolutely, I can help with that. So I made some calls, and they don't listen to the podcast, so I'll put it on here. Y'all get a little sneak peek. So I got some bikes being delivered either today or tomorrow. But it's cool. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like people still rely on the police, and they still count on the police other than being authoritative. You being the police just have to initiate that, right? Like you have to be vulnerable and like show your human side, even during all this chaos. Like even when somebody's cussing you out, like give them a little smile and be like, hey, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm gonna keep going over here doing what I do.
Absolutely. And I think it's funny. So if you subscribe to the Common Hero Project, you're gonna get like a little sneak peek of what the issue is going to be this week. But I was going over a video of a police officer that he actually looks like a state trooper, that he pulls a deputy chief over for DUI. And so he's doing this DUI investigation with his deputy chief, and he tells him look, sir, like, I'm not going to get in trouble, and I don't want you to get in more trouble. You know what I mean? And he's like, I got to do my job, so I'm not about to just let you go because you're the deputy chief. And one of the lessons of this whole video for me is that, you know, we have to do the right thing when nobody's looking, and we have to stay away from doing the wrong thing when nobody's looking. How easy it would have been for him to say, you know, I'm just going to follow you home, or I'm going to, you know, just let you go, for the sake of trying to save face and for the sake of not being that guy that has to arrest one of his own. Those are hard things to do, and it's not just a law enforcement thing. It's a human nature thing. In any job that you're in, there might be a time where you're called to do something that's more difficult, but you have to do it. And that's what I mean by stepping out and being that one person that is doing the right thing, especially when nobody's looking, just because we need more people. And then I also brought up in that, from that video, now, mind you, I don't know the state trooper. For all I know, he can have a whole bunch of complaints, but for all I know, he's a very, very good state trooper. And I believe the latter just because of the interaction with him. But he was very respectful and professional to this deputy chief. Now, there's going to be those that argue and say, well, he's only doing that because he's another police officer and he's a deputy chief. But, you know, one of the things that we can learn from that is if you treat every member of the community with dignity and respect and professionalism, you don't have to worry about giving premier treatment to one of your brothers or sister in law enforcement, because you can say, I do that with everybody. See, that's the problem is, you know, we'll treat people that we know and care for with all this dignity and respect. But if we don't know you, then all of a sudden we're an a-hole to you, or, you know, we start acting all disrespectful as opposed to just treating people good just for the sake of it. This past week I was working, and as I'm doing this homeless detail, we're trying to get this guy some shelter and stuff. So we end up getting a hold of his mom, or his daughter, actually. His daughter puts him up in a hotel room. And as his daughter puts him up in a hotel room, I'm like, hey, man, your daughter says she's going to be here in a couple hours to come pay for your room. And so in the interim, I was like, are you hungry, bro? He was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to walk over to Chipotle real quick. You like Chipotle? He was like, yeah, so I'll get you some Chipotle. Well, I'm walking over there to buy him some Chipotle, and I see she's a younger lady. She's probably same age as us, probably mid to late 30s. And she has two young children that are my kids' age, and two of the nicest kids. You know, they're just being kids, you know, very outgoing and stuff like that. But I could tell like their situation wasn't that good. They sound like they had been sitting there at this Chipotle for a while. And, you know, they had clean clothes, but they weren't like new clothes or stylish clothes. And it looked like they probably been in the clothes for like a couple of days or so. And based on where they were sitting at in a comparison to where the Chipotle was, I was pretty confident that they had just got released from, or they just came out of Motel 6. So sure enough, I start talking to them. The kids are all nice, talking to the mom. And, you know, she's that mom that's trying to not ask for nothing, but you can tell like there's a lot more underneath that layer. So I was like, hey, you guys hungry? And mom was like, hey, no. And she was like, no, they're fine. And the kids were like, yeah, we're hungry. And so I was like, I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna get y'all something to eat. And so I went inside and got the homeless dude some food, and then I got these two children some food. I was like, Mom, you want anything? She's like, no, I'm good. So I come out, give them their little happy meal from Chipotle or whatever. I won't call them Happy Meal because it's not.
I was like, Chipotle got Happy Meals?
But y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the little
came up with a box.
Yeah, exactly. The little kids meal. So anyway, I came back with the little kids meals or whatever. And so Mom was just so appreciative. Like, you know, she was very, very appreciative of what I just did for him. But we started to talk to her a little bit, us with the people I was working with. And, you know, she's a victim of domestic violence. She's been moving in and out of hotel rooms from here to Miami to all over the place with the kids, trying to stay away from this dude. And I don't know whether she has a criminal past or not, but who cares? Even if she did have a criminal past, does that negate the fact that she's still a human being in need? You know, she's still a mom of two children that are oblivious to what's going on. And so how can we preserve that sanctity for her kids, you know, without having to condemn her for what she's done in the past or she hasn't done? So I bring up that story just to say, like, how much does it take for you to go out of your way to be a decent human being to everybody? If you're that one person, then you can change the wave. You can turn the wave for everybody else.
Yeah. We had a episode of the podcast. I mean, this was like a while ago, but where we talked about like perception versus like reality. And I think that this is like very applicable. I'm gonna say that one more time. Applicable for me and Ryan got into how to say that word.
I think it's applicable, but we can say applicable.
But I think it's very applicable to. It's funny saying it now. To like this situation, because what happens is both parties end up with like skewed perceptions of reality, and we'll just say party A is the community and party B is police officers. And I think a good example is that intersection that I was talking about on my precinct. It's very easy for officers to associate that intersection with violence, gangs, narcotics, prostitution, you name it. It's there. But we forget that a majority of people that still live there are good people. This is just somewhat like of the meetup spot for bad people. And then what happens in the community is they see all this stuff on the news, they see all this stuff on the radio, you hear all this stuff on the radio, and see what they see on social media. And then the only time that they see us is in an official capacity, right? Like we're shaking down the dope boys, we're running the prostitutes off, talking to the Johns, arresting them, raiding houses, shooting windows out of dope houses while we raid them and whatnot. So it really messes up our perspective of each other. And all that it takes is, like Ryan said, is that one positive interaction, and the whole thing crumbles. It's like a castle made of dominoes, and you take that domino at the very bottom, and the whole thing just collapses. It's that exact thing. Like all it took was for me to get on one of those little kids' bikes and act like I was riding it, and she went, you better get off my kid's bike before you end up buying him a new one. I know you out here buying people cars. And I was like, I ain't buying nobody a car, but I was like, your kid need a new bike. And then like all the rest of the families were like, my kid need a bike. My kid need a bike. I think it was like 4 or 5 bikes. And I'm like, all right, how old, what age? And then, I'm going to go down there with a paddy wagon, because each precinct has a paddy wagon. And I'm going to act like I'm talking to them. And I'm like, oh, actually your bike is in the back. Let's go get them. And it's like that. They'll remember that forever. And now there's a positive memory deposited at that intersection instead of all these negative ones that's constantly deposited.
Bro, it's kind of like the old saying. I was typing it up so I can remember it. I might butcher it, but it says officers deal with 5% of the population that commit 95% of the crimes, and then we start to see things through the eyes of the 5%. We start to view the 95% like they're the 5%. But it's almost the same thing for the community. The community sees the 5% of bad policing through the media and starts to attribute the 95% of the policing community to what the 5% of the bad policing is. And so, but that's kind of the gist of what we're talking about, is that it's these skewed perceptions that everybody has. The skewed perceptions are inaccurate. And sadly, we start to, make this perception our reality, and it's causing more damage than it is causing more good. And so, it's definitely unique. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go on. I'm gonna just keep going with like this for a little bit. So what was it, like Thursday or Friday? I'm riding around by myself, and there's like this younger white couple on the porch of their house, and they had like this really big Black Lives Matter sign on their front yard, right? Like one of them like big yard signs. So I drove by and I seen it, and then I go to a run, talking to a bunch of kids, like 3 or 4 blocks away, and then as I'm driving back, they're still on their patio. So I'm like, I'm gonna just slow down and say hi to them. So I slow down, wave at them, they don't wave. So I stop and I go, hey, how's it going today? And the female immediately gets up and goes inside, and the guy's just kind of like sitting there apprehensively, like looking at me like, we're fine. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm just making sure everybody in this area is doing all right. And I was like, this is the area that I patrol. So, I like to get to know everybody, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's still super apprehensive. And as I'm sitting there talking to him, a car pulls by me and you hear a girl in the back seat go, that's that one cop. So they circle around, pulling behind me. They all get out. They're taking pictures with me. And this is like a black family, right?
Yeah.
So now I think this guy's feeling somewhat convicted because he automatically judged me based off of my uniform and the cruiser that I'm in. So he's kind of sitting there and he's like watching this whole thing go down. I got the cruiser. I'm taking pictures, right? We're recording goofy videos. They get in the car and they leave. And then I get back in the car and I look back at him and I go, all right, buddy, have a good day. And I wave at him and he goes, hey. He goes, do you know all the rest of the officers that work this area? And I'm like, yeah, I work with them pretty much every day. He's like, we'd love to like stop and hear from you guys. All we see is you guys driving by. Like, I've never really seen an interaction like this. But it was cool because like I got to sit there and chop it up with him after this because I initially stopped and started that dialogue and started that conversation with him. And now he probably went inside and was like, babe, you ain't gonna believe what happened. That cop that pulled up, this car pulled up, and they started taking pictures, and then I found out he does this. And I'm not saying it would change her mind because I didn't have that conversation with her, and she didn't witness it, but you don't know, right? Like, you don't know. Yep. And I don't even know if they were anti-police, right? Like, I was just getting that vibe from them based off of the interactions, like the initial interactions. Like, she immediately got up, didn't say one word to me, went inside. He was kind of sitting there with his coffee in his hand looking at me like, yeah, we're fine. What do you want type of deal, right? But at the end, he was like, man, I'd love to get to meet more of your officers. Like, is this something you do on like a daily basis? How can I get involved? I was telling him about like the shoe drive that I'm getting involved with. He's like, oh, I'd love to participate. I'd love to share it on my social media, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, that's all it takes.
But so that kind of leads me to a good point and this is for all the officers out there. So if you're an officer that's listening to this is for you, is how many of us are actually getting out of our cruisers, walking these streets and talking to people. And I'm not talking about being on a call for service or a run, as like they call it in Ohio. I'm talking about how many of you guys, when you have, let's say a couple minutes of downtime, are instead just parking a cruiser and just saying, I'm going to walk down the street. I'm going to walk through this business complex. I'm going to introduce myself, say what's up to the people, and then I'll get back in my cruiser and leave when the call comes. And if we're being honest, I know we're not all doing that. And don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I understand we're tired.
Majority of us are not doing that.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. I understand we're tired. I understand we're burnt out. I understand that we're tired of people beating us up and saying we're this, we're that. But a lot of the reasons why they say we're this or that is because we're allowing the media to control this narrative and painting us out to be the 95% when there's only really 5% of people that are doing the bad things in our profession. The way you change that is you can change that on an individual level. You can change that by just getting out of your car today, parking your cruiser and saying, I'm going to go walk through this business complex, just introduce myself, see what's going on, play with, hang out with, make jokes or whatever it is, and get back in your car. That little interaction, I promise you, will go a long ways. I promise you. And you can't even, and here's one of the things that I realize, as much as crazy frustrated as I get when I, watch, or read some of the comments on Instagram or YouTube or whatever from all these just ignorant people. One of the realities that I've come to is that their reality has been painted like that because all they have interacted with is somebody that's been negative. And sometimes they may not have ever even had an interaction with a police officer, but their negativity towards law enforcement is fueled by what they see from other people's experience. And so if they can go out there and have a good interaction with me, then you know what? Sometimes that conversation starts, well, I don't like police, but I like Ryan. I may not like police.
He's a cool cop.
Yeah, but I like AJ. He's a cool cop. And then they meet you, the next cool cop. And then they meet somebody else. And I'm not saying you got to go out there and change who you are and try to act like them. No, be who you are, but just get out of your car and meet somebody that's different. Like, it's almost that old Andy Griffin style way of policing. I don't know if you guys used to watch the Andy Griffin show, but one of the things I loved about that old show is that it was like straight up old school. He got out of his car. Everybody knew who Andy Griffin was in the neighborhood. Everybody knew who he was, the police officer in the neighborhood. He showed up. And so, yeah, it was a TV show, but that's kind of like the philosophy that we need to have towards law enforcement is getting out of our vehicles, being more humanistic and reaching people at their level. That's when you're going to really get to start to see the needs and the pulse of the community. I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and what came up was, what's traditionally been and we've talked about these issues before, like drugs and things like that. Like those are some of the traditional needs as police officers that we have been seeing that have been crippling our neighborhoods, and we go out there for rightful reasons and try to stop drugs and guns and stuff like that, and we need to continue to do so. But what we're missing is we're actually missing listening to the community and what they need, because what you'll find out is that even though we know that this neighborhood is run down with guns and drugs, what they need is a swing set. What they need is some bikes for their kids. What they need is some books. What they need is some food. Like those needs, if you were to compare the guns and drugs, in their eyes, the needs that I just mentioned are going to be way more important than us taking the guns and drugs off the street. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be taking those guns and drugs off the street. All I'm saying, though, is that when you get a pulse for your community, you'll start to hear and understand that the needs of the community almost sometimes have to come before some of the needs that we recognize as police officers. And again, we have special assignments that go out there, get guns and drugs and things like that. So I'm not trying to say that we need to drop that level of priorities.
You could do both.
You can do both. All I'm saying is you need to be equally aware of the needs of the community that come from inside.
Yep. That's exactly it. And I don't want to say I hate, but like it rubs me the wrong way when officers think you have to pick. Like, oh, well, either I'm going to go out here and be a community cop, or I'm going to go out here and I'm going to be this hard charger that goes out here and kicks in doors and gets dope. And I'll be the first to tell you, listen, like you could do both. You could be nice when you don't have to be, and you could be not nice when you have to be, if that makes sense, right? And that's what I pride myself on. And I don't want to brush over something that Ryan said. He said it will go a long way, and that's an understatement. Like you don't know, and I hate that I'm going to say this in the manner that I'm going to say it, but I feel like it will benefit someone. You don't know how much easier this will make your life. And that shouldn't be the reason you do this. That's why I hate saying it. But I know there's someone out there listening to this that will resonate with them, and that's okay. But you don't know how much easier this will make your life. I've been going for a year, okay? A lot of what I heard was true, right? Like things are bad for the communities. There are dope boys just walking around with backpacks right now. And Lord knows what's in the backpacks. The prostitutes are having a field day, walking up and down the streets, getting in cars in plain view. Shootings are at an all-time high. Like violent crimes are at an all-time high. So like things are bad. And when I came to work, I realized that. So me being as prideful as I am and being who I am, I immediately went to the two areas that I consider my home away from home. My first of which is my cruiser district, the area I'm assigned every day. And I just started letting people know like, hey, I'm back. Just you pass the word, I'm back. You take that how you want to take it, but I'm back. And then I went back to the area that I used to work. And that's that's where I cut my teeth. It's literally right down the street from my cruiser district. And I was telling all of them, and that area was way worse. I mean, there are people in vans with the side doors open, shooting up in broad daylight, not even looking for cars passing. People passed out in the streets. They kick in the back door of vacants. They're having like vacant parties, or they're just all shooting up drugs and smoking crack. And I did this exact same thing. I parked at the busy intersection where all the new dope boys are at. And I told every single one, I'm like, hey, I don't know you. You don't know me. This is my home away from home. I take pride in this. I'm back. And what I seen happen is when I would walk down the street to tell somebody else, somebody that I arrested or somebody that I knew from before I got hurt would walk up and talk to those dope boys or talk to those gangbangers or talk to whoever was on that corner. And they would kind of look at me, shake their head, get in the car and leave. And you already know what they were telling them. Like, hey, don't think he's sugarcoating anything. Like, when he's saying he back. Like he ain't playing. He not gonna say it to say it. This ain't a scare tactic. What he does is he gives you a chance. Hey, I'm Officer Johnson. This is my area. I take pride in this. If you're doing something illegal, you ain't gonna do it on this precinct in between these times. And then when he catch you, he catch you. That way there ain't no surprises, right? You can't be like, oh, well, you know, that's some bull crap, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, bro. Like I gave you your chance. I told you who I was. I told you to stop doing what you're doing, so you can absolutely do both. And it's beneficial to do both because you have the community ties and you have the respect of the criminals.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And we have to get away from using those excuses, because again, if we're frustrated that the community's using all these excuses for us, we can't turn around and use the same excuses as well. Like, you know, I was asked a question a few weeks ago is, you know, why do officers have to respond with a badge and a gun for somebody that's going through a mental health crisis? And I think I've said this before on the podcast, is my answer to that person was, we can do both. We can go out there with a badge and a gun and still de-escalate and offer somebody resources that's going through a mental health crisis without having to use the badge and the gun. The badge and the gun is there in the event that this person does something that puts everybody else in danger. Then now they are now equipped to handle that threat. And so, you know,
and if you ever want like training on how to interact with someone going through like a mental health crisis, all you have to do is come by the studio when we have technical difficulties and hang around Billy. And you have all the training in the world, because he'll break down, he'll start snapping, he might yoke you up and shake you a little bit.
And I got to de-escalate him. And I got to de-escalate him.
We got to talk you down.
He only pulled the taser once. So.
But man, this is a good conversation, man. I definitely think it's worth staying here for a second and just, you know, I want to give a challenge out to you if you're a police officer or an aspiring police officer. What are you doing today that can go out there and change tomorrow? What are you doing today that can change tomorrow? And if you're not doing anything today, then don't expect to get results tomorrow. You know, everybody wants results. Everybody wants to say, oh, I wish policing was like this. I wish the pendulum can start to move back this way. I wish this and that could happen. But the reality is that if we're not ourselves moving that pendulum forward, if we're not ourselves actually going out there and putting the pedal to the metal and doing the work necessary to move that pendulum, then we can't expect the results for tomorrow. And so today I challenge you, if you're going to work today, whether it's a graveyard, a swing shift, or a day shift, in your downtime, whenever you're not going on a call for service, try to get to know somebody that you typically wouldn't get to know any other time in your life. And let's just say you're that person that's gonna say, oh, you know, well, my department, we're always on calls for service. We don't have the time to go and do self-initiated. You know, and I know that there's always time, but let's just say what you're saying is true. Then the next time you go on a call for service and you finish handling that call with whoever it is, I want you to transition from being Mr. Enforcer and Mr. Problem Solver to now I'm, you know, human being. You know, for example, look at myself as, you know, on a call for service, people may refer to me as Corporal Tillman or whatever it may be, because that's the title.
Corporal Tillman, flexing with the rank on him.
Yeah, whatever. So some may see me in that capacity as a professional, but as soon as I'm done with that, why can't I transition to just be Ryan? And I'm not saying like, okay, now from this moment forward, man, you can just call me Ryan. I want to talk about other stuff. No, I want you to act like you would act when you're at your party with your friends at home. I want you to act like you would act when you're hanging out with your family. Act that way with them, so that way they're not seeing you in that professional capacity to where everything is just so robotic. I'm not saying that, you know, you have to drop your guard. I'm not saying that you have to compromise your officer safety or nothing like that. All I'm saying is be a human being. I tell people all the time when I'm getting to know people just on a whim or just talking to them, hey, I'm Ryan. I rarely throw out Corporal Tillman. Rarely.
Hey.
Only when it's time to do work, son. Only when it's time to do work.
This might rub some people the wrong way, but I got to share this story, man. So I'm at this like high school graduation party. I don't know, Saturday, Sunday, one of those days. All my days are kind of running together. And this young man is like a huge supporter of law enforcement. Like he was the one who put together that like Back the Blue event that I was telling you about a while ago. So, you know, I stopped by and you're just kind of talking to some people. There were like a bunch of officers there because he does like all this stuff. But this guy's like joining the, let me think how to say this. This guy's joining the military. All right. So this kid, he's already signed up and he's going to go to boot camp. Keep in mind, I have no military experience.
Yeah.
We'll just put that out there before I even start this story. All right. So I'm talking to everybody and there's like this one guy who's like in the corner and he's got like a scowl on his face and he's not talking to anybody. And this is like a very social like party, right? Like people are like dancing, there's music, people are eating, just having a good time, right? So somehow we end up on that side of this event, right? And we're like, I'm somewhat close to this guy. And like all these people kept coming up and like, I don't say all these people, but like some people came up and like asked to take pictures with me and like do a FaceTime with their friends and whatnot. And I caught this guy like kind of like give me the side eye, like, man, who is this dude? Like, why everybody taking pictures with him, right? And he's still by himself.
Yeah.
So, man, let me walk over and talk to him. So I walk over to him. I go, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? He's like, oh, I'm good. Close in, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm good.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's what's up, man. I was like, well, how do you know Markel? That this is the kid that, you know, is going into the military. And he's like, oh, he goes, I recruited him. And I was like, oh, I was like, you're in the military. He's like, yeah, I'm a recruiter. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, you know, how long have you been in the military? Just try to get to know him, right? And he is just so shut off. So then my buddy, who's like a social butterfly, like this dude could talk to anybody. He comes over, nicest dude in the world, and he kind of sees like the awkwardness in the conversation. So he kind of starts chirping it in, and this guy has military experience, right? So he's like, you know, are you going to be at, you know, Fort, you know, Bragg, or I don't know, like all these not medical terms, but military terms, right? And he's like, yeah, but you know, I wouldn't want to do that, or waste of time. I wouldn't do that. And no, I'd never do that, right? So then my buddy's even like, okay. So I'm like, all right, let me just end this conversation. Like, he clearly don't want to talk to me. So I go, hey, what's your name again? And he says his rank and then his name. All right. And that might be custom, you know, like, once again, I work with a bunch of, you know, Marines, Navy, Air Force, all that, right? But he says it so fast, I go, what was that? And he goes, my name is, you know, rank and then this name. And then I like catch on to what he's doing. And I go, oh, like literally out loud, I go, oh. And I go, well, I'm AJ. And I like extend my hand. And you could just see like the air just went out of his sails the moment I was just like, well, I'm AJ. And he was just like, oh. And he like shook my hand and I walked away. But like, when you share like that story, like it just made me think of this. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, I'm never like, unless I'm in like a super authoritative like situation, am I ever like, I'm Officer Johnson, I'm Officer AJ. Like, I'm always like, yeah, I'm AJ, man. What's up? How can I help you? And it gives like that level of like personal connection to people. I'm not Officer Johnson. I'm AJ, man. What's up? Like, you know, I'm the police. I got all this stuff on. I got this white shirt, this white leather hat. I got all this big police cruiser. Like, you know, I'm the police, right? Like, I don't need you to call me Officer AJ, Officer Johnson. I'm AJ. What's up, man? What can I do for you? And it goes a long way. It goes a long way. Even with this guy who didn't want to talk to anybody, and he was like being super difficult and hard the entire time. Like, the moment I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm AJ. You just see him go, oh, nice to meet you. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just end it like that. So you hit the nail on the head, man.
Man, what that brought me to was a Bible verse. And
let's go.
And it's 1 Samuel 16:7. And if you're reading NIV, it says this: do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And so, you know, without getting all biblical, we should be looking at the heart of people. And, you know, and I also want to give people my heart. I don't want to give people my outward appearance. I don't want people to just be like, oh, you know, he has Corporal Tillman on his name badge, and so therefore that's how I want to be acknowledged. Like, I always tell people, you know, when I got promoted, a promotion is just, it's cool. It's a great thing to do if you're in a career where you want to promote. But that's not who I am. I'm still, just because I got promoted to corporal doesn't change the fact that my name is Ryan. My name will always be Ryan. Ryan comes before any promotion. I don't care if I was the president of the United States of America, I was still Ryan before I was the president. And sometimes we allow those titles, sometimes we allow those, you know, what do you call it? Your reputation to precede, you know, who you are as a person. And so, you know, one of the things that I posted a video a few weeks ago where that lady was in the school telling the officer that she needed to leave, or he needed to leave because she needed to speak with the chief. Yep. And one of the things that stood out to me was when the officer introduced himself, she's like, oh, my name is Principal or Dr. Camacho. She said Mrs. Camacho. I mean, Dr. Camacho. Like, she changed it. Like, she had to throw that in there. I'm Dr. Camacho, which, okay, I understand you're proud, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud that you got your doctorate degree, but is it really necessary to let people know that you are a doctor? You know, it's funny, and this is like that, and this is no knock on anybody that wears ribbons. I've worn ribbons before, and if you're not sure what a ribbon is, anytime you wear like a Class A uniform and stuff like that, you know, just like the military, you'll get awards that will you can put on your uniform, and each ribbon signifies some type of accomplishment you've gotten. So it could be the Officer of the Year, the Bravery Award, the, you know, Special Assignment, things like that.
Purple Heart.
All these ribbons signify what you've done in your career. And don't get me wrong, it's cool for people to know that you've done a lot of things, and you should be proud that you've done those things. But typically when I wear a Class A uniform, I never wear my ribbons on it. Never. Simply because I've told Kimberly Day, when my wife, she's like, but why? Like, I'm so proud. And I'm like, thanks, babe. I'm glad you're proud. But I've always told her, I don't want people to be distracted by the things I've accomplished. I want them to be consumed with who I am. And if you can do that, that's how we, you know, I think that for me is what is more important than any type of accomplishment, because all those accomplishments don't really mean anything when it comes to just a normal interaction with, you know, the two of us. You know what I mean? And so don't be so distracted by everything I've accomplished that you miss who I am. You know what I mean?
I wore my Class A uniform probably about like a year and a half ago, maybe closer to like 2 years. I forget why. I was like, something like I was being interviewed for like the news, or someone was taking a picture of me or something like that. And like, I was pretty much told like, hey, like wear your Class A. And like for us, when you're told to wear a Class A, like you have to wear like your ribbons and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I put it all on. I show up to the substation, and one of our kind of newer officers goes, "Man, I didn't know you were that decorated." And I just kind of started laughing, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't like wearing," because some people wear them every day. Because typically, like our uniforms could accommodate your ribbons, and no knock to the people who wear them. So I just started laughing. I was like, this one's for dancing. This one's for like the most TikToks, and they're all like cracking up. And, they're kind of like giving it back to me like, oh, what's that one for like the most Instagram likes? And I was like, yeah. I was like, this one's for the video I did in front of Chick-fil-A. I got 2 of those. Everyone's like laughing. And then he kind of smirks and he goes, well, what's that one? He's like, I don't think I've ever seen that one. I was like, oh, that's just a Purple Heart. And you could just see the defeat in his face. He was just like, oh, and I got it. And I was like, yeah, it's there, man. I was like, I don't like because once again, man, like that's like I appreciate being recognized for it. Like it was an honor. Actually, I didn't want the Purple Heart that a ceremony, because there was only one other officer who was awarded it, and it was the officer who was killed in line of duty. And it was awkward because I had to sit beside his empty seat, and I was like, I don't want to be here. Like I don't deserve this Purple Heart. To where I don't want to say most people, but some people would walk around with that and kind of like flaunt it and throw it in people's faces. It's just like I don't want that to interfere with like my day-to-day conversation. Like I don't want to show up on a scene and someone see all that and be intimidated by it. Like, oh, who's this super cop over here, right? Like that's not me. And once again, like no knock to you, be proud, because it does feel good. Like when I wear that stuff, I feel good. People recognize it. People see it. Like, man, what's all them colors and stars? Like, what's all that you got? You got what, 3 rows? Okay. Like, people recognize it and it does make you feel good. But like, for me, that's not it. That's not it. Like, I would much rather just show up. If I could show up in a t-shirt and basketball shorts, I would. Trust and believe. I'll throw some Jordans on and I'll be out there with a police hat on, just talking to people. Like, that's my speed. You know what I mean? And if that's not your speed, that's okay. But like, you also need to understand like what can interfere with people's perceptions and like first impressions of you, and that could be it. So
and again, it just goes back to how do you want people to remember you? Do you want to remember do I want people to be remember me by all the awards I got, or do I want people to remember me for, man, that dude was just a wholesome guy, like he just truly loved life? And so that's my biggest takeaway from it all. And so if you're listening to this podcast, just go ahead AJ.
Oh, no, go ahead. Because I'm going like left field with this.
Oh, well, what I was going to say too is, lastly, is like, even when it comes to what we do for this podcast and all the other things we do, like we've said it before, we're not doing it for clout. Like, like, and it's funny because
trust me, that is not it.
Trust
me, that's not it.
And it's funny too, because the more and more, the longer we do this and the more we do things, the more people start to recognize me. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, because you got to realize, like, not everybody in the community likes me. not everybody in law enforcement likes me. And so it is very awkward going to police events, whether it be a training or a funeral, and people see you just because, again, there are people in law enforcement that don't like me. It's just the reality of it. And so I am there with people knowing that they don't like me, but they might smile on my face or whatever it may be. But on the flip side of that, I also am appreciative of those that do like me and that do appreciate me. So when you do come out of your way and say, hey man, I appreciate the work that you do, it does mean a lot to me. It means it motivates me to continue doing what I'm doing, because you're the person I'm doing it for. I'm not doing it for the person that doesn't like me. I'm doing it because I'm hopefully able to reach out to somebody that I was able to help in some way. And so, but again, this is not for clout, because I'm not gonna lie to you, man. There are times where, I just want to go and I want to go to a training class and be able to, and I'm not saying, so don't take this the wrong way, because by no means am I on the level of an A-list celebrity, like that. I'm not, I can't even compare the two. But the only reason I'm bringing that up is because there are times where I'll go places and I know I'm gonna see somebody that recognizes me,
you just want to hide,
and I just want to hide because I might be having a bad day, or I might be having. But I appreciate you going out of your way and still saying hi to me, because that's the uplift that I needed. I'll give you an example. I took my family out to CPK last week. And
to what?
The California Pizza Kitchen.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So we went to California Pizza Kitchen with another family. So I'm walking into the bathroom, and I'm sure AJ gets this a lot too. Somebody will say, "What's up?" And I don't know. I can't remember if I know you personally. I don't know if you're a listener of the podcast. I don't know if you see me speak somewhere. I don't know if you saw me on the news somewhere. I just don't know. But I always treat you like, hey man, I know you, like, that's just how I've always been. So some guy was like, hey, what's going on, Ryan? Like, how you doing, man? Blah 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 blah. And so we got to talking, and I saw his name, and I thought I knew him personally, like I met him before. But as we got to talking, I realized, and if you're watching this, bro, hey, don't knock me, bro. I still played it well. But as we start to talk, he reminded me that we talked on. Can you hear that noise? That beeping noise?
Nope.
Okay, good. We're almost done. He reminded me that we talked on live. I had him on my live, and he was like, Ryan, man, you've helped me so much. I just wanted to remind you, man, I got my interview tomorrow with the police department, man. I thank you so much. I appreciate you. Me and my girl, we watch you all the time. So I was like, man, I appreciate you, man. And so we got to talking. I gave him my number, and he's been texting me and stuff like that. But those are the times that really help pull me out of the funk that I'm in, because I get in funks just like anybody else, because I'm a human. And so although there's times I want to be in a hole and I want to hide from everybody, and I don't want people to be like, oh, shoot, that's Ryan. Those are the times, if you do appreciate what I'm trying to do, those are the times that I truly appreciate you even that much more. Go ahead, AJ.
I was at a wedding 2 weekends ago, and I'm like, I gotta use the restroom. So I go in, I hit the urinal, taking care of business, and this guy walks, and he's using the urinal beside me. He goes, hey, I'm a big fan. I was like, I just started laughing. I was like, I'm really hoping you recognize me from somewhere.
Did he say that's a nice belt you have on? As you're using the urinal, he's like, oh, that's a nice belt you have on.
It didn't say anything else. Literally just comes up beside me. He starts, using the restroom too, and he's like, real big fan here. I really busted out laughing. I was like, man, I hope you recognize me from somewhere.
Bro, that's the funniest time too, because when people, like, I always crack up the ones that are trying to be like tough and like they don't want to give you the recognition, but they appreciate you. So they're like, hey man, just want to let you know, man, like your stuff. And then that's it. It's like, all right, I appreciate you, bro.
Nah, he was cool afterwards. I mean, I literally just busted out laughing. I was like, bah! And then this past weekend, I was at just real quick, I was at a Father's Day cookout at the in-laws at their community pool. And this guy walked up to me, shout out to Ryan, not this Ryan, but the Ryan from the pool. And he walked up to me. He's like, hey, I'm a really big fan of the podcast and everything that you do. And I had this exact same conversation with him. And I was like, hey, because he was like, I hate to like interrupt your family time. And I was like, dude, like, I wish every interaction was like this. Like it's positive. Like you're giving me like some good energy and whatnot. So you're absolutely right, man. And I know is your laptop about to die right now?
No, no, but I know Billy has to leave. No, I'm at 20%, but I know Billy's got to leave soon. He's got to go. He's got his fancy clothes on today.
Billy, talk to us real quick.
Billy actually looks like a director or something like that today, like an executive. He's about to go close the business deal.
How are things at the Stuckman household?
We're good, man. Baby number 2 is sleeping pretty good, and we're potty training number 1, so that's he's getting better. You know, he's using the potty a little bit.
How old is he now?
He'll be 2 next month.
Okay, so we need to start then because we got 15 months, 16 months. So we got to at least start introducing him to it then. What else, Billy? Talk to us. We ain't heard from you all episode. People want to hear from Billy.
Yeah, people
want to hear from Billy.
No, we're doing well. The kiddos are tiring but amazing, and potty train's going well. That's basically what's new in my life. Yep.
You still doing the photography stuff? By the way, for the listeners, Billy does wedding photography, videography, right?
Yeah, wedding videos and real estate and a bunch of stuff.
So reach out to Billy if you are in Cali, hit my guy up, man. He does it. He's a savage. You can think about this. You could hire the savage to shoot a commercial for you or like to do a photo shoot. Not too many people can say that.
You sure could.
You could be all the way on the other side of the country. You got to fly him out, but he'll come out.
And he means business today because he has his Hollywood director clothes on today.
Where are you going, Billy? Can you say?
Yeah, I'm going to it's a marketing like PR firm today, and we're just doing some content.
I told you. Look, Billy, he does it all. He does it. He's not just the producer of the It's Needed podcast. He's the producer of producers.
He is. Wow. He's a man's producer. He's a producer's producer.
Wow.
So
we're gonna talk you up, Billy.
This is great.
I feel like we don't do it enough.
Yeah, I feel really good.
All right. Enough of that, Billy. Enough of that.
No, same more.
So really quick.
Probably got on some Crocs right now.
Wait,
no, these aren't Crocs.
I can hear the clicking. I can hear the beeping, which means our audience can hear the beeping.
They can?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all good. I'm getting messages.
Are those Crocs?
No, these
like
aren't
the Croc
Crocs.
brand.
Those are the Jesus 3s right there.
Bro. What are those called?
Goodfellows, bro.
No, but what's that style of?
I
Is that a tire tread at the bottom,
bruh? You might have
that's the Goodyear 5s.
The two clips going across the top, but nothing on the back.
These are. I wish a mother would. You know what I'm saying? I could get traction if I need to go ahead and throw them paws.
Hey, you slap somebody with that, you ripping skin off. Them bad boys look like they got some grip.
Chocolates 2.0. Yep. Hey guys, so just so you guys know, if you guys aren't already subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe to the Common Hero Project. Go on to commonheroproject.org. So if you guys want more of this content, more ways to make you better on the inside so you can be better on the outside, check out AJ. Everything is opening back up. So AJ should start speaking soon again. I think me and him have talked. I know we've been saying it for a long time that we want to do a collaboration where we can come out to your college, your high school, your university, whatever it is. So that way we can, if you want to have us speak there, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, DM us because they do speak at universities.
Yeah, DM. Dang, my thing is going off right now. Y'all hear me blowing up over here?
Yeah.
So DM me for sure. And then also the last thing I want to do is I want to do a one has to go before we get up out of here. This one is very basic, but sometimes basic is good. And so one has to go, and we're going to do 4 ice cream flavors. First one is vanilla. Ooh. Second one is chocolate. Third one is strawberry. And the fourth one is mint and chip. One has to go.
Mint chip's my favorite, man.
No, mint chip's like you brushing your teeth. It's like you brushing your teeth with
okay.
No, strawberry. I'm not into fruity ice creams.
What? Chocolate has to go.
Oh, Ryan, here you go. Ryan just be like, I'm going to pick the most popular one and say that.
Nah,
Such a hipster. You just hate everything popular.
Oh, bro. Chocolate got to go, bro. We ain't messing with no chocolate around here.
I want Neapolitan could stay. Chocolate's going.
No, I actually want, we can keep Neapolitan. We just got to get rid of the chocolate in Neapolitan and replace it with, like an orange sherbet or something.
Dude.
Chocolate, bro, what? Chocolate
right
milkshake?
Now. I know. I don't know how to silence my phone. So
is it your phone?
It's the laptop.
Yeah. Dang it.
Oh, because it's dying.
No, it's my. People are sending me all these text messages.
Whoa. Are you in a group message?
Oh, bro, yes. Well, yes.
They're ruining our podcast.
So
you ruining our podcast.
On that note, y'all can see if you do have my contact information and I don't hit you back right away, you can see why. My phone be blowing up. So,
and if you don't have his contact information, his cell phone number is
330-8004. Oh man. So hey y'all, we appreciate you, and I want to give one last shout out to Anton for coming on our last episode. That was actually a really good episode. If you guys did not get a chance to listen to last week's episode, it was a phenomenal one. So make sure you guys go back and listen to it. Anton's doing big things in Texas. I got to follow up with him and see how everything went at the protests against violence. So that being said, we love you guys. Jesus loves you. Make sure you guys stay safe this week, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Hey, that was actually that piece was actually pretty
that was
good.
really synced up. That was good.